Good morning, everybody. We have a show for you. We have a wonderful friend that's joined us, and we are excited to bring her to you to tell you about what she's doing and her YouTube channel and things like that. So we are here. You know that we're the Thoughtful Thursday Mavens of Motivation, and we're here. Everybody get your coffee cup. Put us, yeah. Okay. Or your cold drink cup. Barbara doesn't drink hot drinks except I did get her to drink some hot chocolate while
I
she was
did,
here.
and it was very good.
As you know, we've been on a road trip. I really don't know that I want to call it vacation.
Oh, it was a lot of work, but fun work.
And
Fun
Cindy was there with us, and it was a, we talked a little bit about it last week, but it was very empowering. It's very impactful. If you have any blockages in your life, whether it's money, emotions, marital or other relationships, kids, this particular class, Brandon is a master at covering this, and he covers it from a biblical perspective. So many people teach great things, but then they kind of get off course on some of the basics. And this stayed on course. It was very good teaching. And we talked about the chaos last week. Barbara had chaos. We had chaos. Everybody that went, I think, had chaos getting home. I don't know if you did, Cindy, because I haven't talked to you about that. But people stuck in airports, people's cars breaking down, people, we had rainstorms, down to 30 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
on I-40, which is 75 miles an hour, and rain through the mountains a little bit, but just things like that. We went to one place. We went through several of the Indian reservations, and we went to one place that it took us 3 trips to get water, ice, bathroom, and gas. 3 different locations.
Wow.
To be able to fulfill those tiny little needs.
Those 3 things.
And there's lots of distance between the opportunities when you're on the reservation. Wonderful people, but it was like, what's going on? And it was our chaos. It wasn't them. It was our chaos that Brandon talked about, the edge, that when you're fixing to step into something great, you will encounter the edge. And, people that, people go, oh, you're driving, which we turned it in a road trip. Like we said, we're going to show some pictures. We didn't take nearly as many pictures and stuff as we had planned, but you've seen a few of them on here. But people were going, oh, well, I'll be home in 2 hours, or I'll be home this afternoon. They spent 2 days in the Denver airport, another one 2 days in the Las Vegas airport. And we're like, we're glad we're driving. We've got rain, but
at least we're moving.
So
30 miles an hour, but at least we were moving.
Then she left here, and it hit between here and Oklahoma City. And I mean, torrential downpour, people not knowing where they are. She nearly got run off the road once by a trailer. So lots of whirlwinds at the end.
Adventures.
Yes, lots of adventures. So
and the thing is that I just kept saying that this is one of the edges.
Yeah.
One of the edges that I learned about last week. So it was good.
And we're probably going to cover some of those tidbits in our thing, but if any of you want to learn about the edges, want to learn how to improve your relationships, improve your relationship with money, with business, with your spouse, your kids,
with yourself.
Yes, with yourself, reach out to us, because there will be another one of these events in January, and it's mastering the power within, because God has put his spirit in each of us, and we need to learn how to bow to that power, how to let that power rule and reign over us. You've heard me talk about, you can
help
spiral up, you can spiral down, but you're supposed to be under the control of the spirit. And then that is where your true freedom is. And he will teach you in very practical ways how to get there. So it's a wonderful reach out, put it in the chats. But join all of us because I'm
Yeah.
going back.
I'm going back.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Me too. I won't miss it.
So anyway, I want to welcome to the platform my wonderful co-host, Barbara Ellison, who really is a road warrior. I mean, she really is a road warrior. And I thought I was, but I want you to know I was doing some paperwork and taking care of some business. She drove the entire way from St. George, Utah, back to Amarillo.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was, and we dawdled a little bit. We stopped and did a little bit of sightseeing. We ran in the rain, so it took much longer than either of us ever thought it would. We stopped and saw
It was
a
fun.
friend's orchard and played with their chickens, and all kinds of neat things. So actually, you got to stay there, didn't you, Cindy? You got to stay with David and Jerry.
Yes, definitely. That was so much fun. Just getting, so you were talking about his chickens. I was trying to
His
figure
chickens.
which
Yeah,
chickens.
his chickens and his orchard. I was quite impressed
Yes.
with his
Oh
orchard.
man.
And
Definitely
Keith
would
was
love to have all
over
of
the
those.
moon about the figs.
Yeah.
His fig
Yep.
tree is enormous.
Yes, I got to pick some of those and bring them home.
Yeah. But anyway, so Barbara, welcome. I'll shut up. I've kind of taken all the time. So
and it's always fun to be here and to just hear about other people's stories. So Cindy, I am so glad that you are here.
Thank you.
And it was so nice. It was so nice to see you in person. I mean, rather than, we see each other 2 or 3 times a week in a screen.
Yep.
So it was so nice to actually sit down and have another chance, because I know we had met before, but it was just so nice to put bodies to
real hugs, real hugs.
Real heart
that
hugs.
was wonderful.
Hearts, the hugs of the heart. So
yeah.
So Cindy, tell us a little bit about you and how we're all related and how you do the things that you do.
Oh, goodness. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I feel very privileged to come here and be with you ladies. I just really look up to you ladies and just inspired to be more like you.
Thank you.
So we, oh goodness, where do you want me to start? Do you want me to tell a little bit of my story before I get into how I know you guys? Okay, great. Well, I am a registered nurse for 33 years. I married a wonderful man also 33 years ago, and he's a principal and had been in the education industry, or whatever you want to call it, for years, and only a couple of years out from retirement. So that's one of my goals, is to help my husband retire. And we have 2 kids. I have a 24-year-old daughter who's married to a man who's in the ministry full-time as a youth pastor. And then my son, who is 22, and he is married and has both of my grandchildren now. I have a almost 2-year-old and a almost 3-month-old 2 little boys. And so that's been the new thing in my life, becoming a new empty nester. And then both of my kids got married early, and now I'm a Grammy. My husband is Pops. And so we're taking over those roles of the most precious person in my life that's no longer with us, my Grammy, and then Gary, his dad, who was Pops. And so we feel very privileged, but also, wow, that's a lot to shoes to fill,
Yes.
Very special to us. And gosh, I homeschooled the kids for 8 years, and that was definitely a God thing. There's a whole story around that I can share.
Yeah, I want to hear that story because I homeschooled also. So I'll go into that story some.
Sure. Well,
we
I
were
always
homeschooling before Lemon versus Leafer was a settled case. And so it was up in the air about how legal it was here in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember dealing with some of that even early stages on, and just with the relatives, like, what are you doing?
Oh, and I'm from a long line of teachers. My mom was going, what do you think you're doing?
Gary's mom is a teacher. His dad was a teacher. His grandma was a teacher. And so here we are homeschooling our kids, and people are going like, what are you doing? But I was being a registered nurse, I am not a teacher other than teaching, health and wellness to my patients. but, and I was one of those that just never would have gone into the teaching industry. I said, if I had to, I'd rather be homeless than be a teacher. And my sister homeschooled. I was like, how can you do that? Do you want your kids home 24/7? Like, it's nice to send them off to school, because my kids started in school. My daughter was in first, second, and third grade, and then my son just kindergarten before God called me to homeschool. And so I was out one day. We had moved to this area of Oakhurst, Mariposa, actually at the time, Mariposa, California, and then over to Oakhurst a couple of years later, a little mountain town outside of Yosemite. And a lot of my friends were homeschooling. I'd say like 40% within our church homeschools. And I was watching and just really intrigued of how well behaved their kids were and how they just seemed to have their kids' hearts at home. But still, I was like, that is not for me. No way could I ever do that or would want to do that. And one day I'm out home health nursing, and I'm finished my day, and I come up to the light. And right as I'm coming up to the light, this is one of those times where you literally hear God's voice in your ear, and he says, you're going to homeschool your children. And I went, what? What did you just say? He goes, you're going to homeschool your children. And I literally got goosebumps, which I am right now, just because the time was so real. And I instantly just started crying, which I'm almost crying now, because that moment was so real. And I was like, no way, God, I cannot do this. There's no way that I can bring my kids home and be a good wife and do my business and work my RN job and homeschool my kids. Like, I don't have the capabilities. I don't know how to teach, on and on, all these things. I don't know. I can't do this. But I just said, okay, God, let me just, pray on this and think on this. Well, I got home and I just prayed for a couple of days, and then I brought it to my husband. And when I brought it to him, I thought he's going to say, no way, are you crazy? But he said, that sounds like a good idea. I think we should homeschool our kids. And I was like, what? Oh. Are you kidding me? And so there I was. And then the summer, I mentioned it to my daughter. One time I'm brushing her hair, getting her ready for school. She's in the third grade. And there was some activities going on in the school. I just wasn't liking my child's behavior. She was just starting to dress real prissy, and already fifth grade boys were asking her out and all this. Well, finally, I just asked her one day, what would you think if you were homeschooled? No, mommy, I would miss my friends, my teacher, blah, blah, blah. Well, long story short, over the summer, just through prayer, talking to other moms, talking to my sister who homeschooled, my daughter and son must have heard it, because all of a sudden I heard her talking to Justin one day, and she's like, yeah, Justin, well, we're homeschooled, da, 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 da. And it was something positive. And so that next fall, we started our journey of the next 8 years. And boy, my daughter just took off with it. And she graduated when she was 16 with all sorts of scholarships through homeschooling. And my son, he was a difficult one. And I won't go into all that, but he decided to go to high school, which was a great decision. But he learned to be so independent, and he went into water polo and all that in the high school, which he couldn't have done homeschooling, which then ended him up. And now he was a scuba diving instructor, and now he's in the Coast Guard. So all of that was part of God's plan for him in his life. But I'm like, when I was done, I was like, thank you, Lord. But this was a challenge, but it was well worth it. And I got my kids' hearts back literally within 6 months of starting to homeschool them at home. Yes. So yeah,
it's an amazing shift when you've had them. We did private school, then public for 1 year, and then homeschool. So they were, it was, and I was in Hong Kong with Keith. And I came home, and the headmistress goes, Brad says that he's quitting St. Andrews. And I said, what? News to me. And I certainly didn't want him to, because in 6th grade, you get a trip, you go on a trip to Washington, D.C. And I wanted to go. I hadn't been there at that time. But anyway, I'm like, oh my. And then 1 year into middle school, it just was not a good place, at all. And for the first few months after he came out, he slept at the foot of our bed. He'd make a little pallet, slept at the foot of our bed. And he turned from a surly teenager back into a 10-year-old.
Oh, wow.
It was a major shift.
Yeah, definitely.
But
wow.
3 boys in homeschool was a real treat.
Yeah. Boys are definitely more difficult. Justin had dyslexia, and so I had to do a lot of my things to teach him was through movement. So I played on the trampoline with him every day, doing times tables, doing vocabulary, spelling. I made up little games, the memory game. We flip over the word with the vocabulary, all this stuff, I had to come up with for him, and right brain, left brain training. So it was definitely a challenge. So I realized, if you really set your heart to it and God has called you to it, you can do anything, and you can do anything with God's help. So I definitely relied on him daily.
Scripture says that they're to learn at your knee.
Yeah.
That is a scripture that children are to learn at their mother's knee. And, if they're in school, that it's something I wouldn't have traded. I would
No, definitely not. I look back and there's no way I'd trade any of that time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so gosh, we were young. We were very young, married, about a year and a half in. I was registered nursing full-time. Gary's teaching. And God brought to us business opportunity. So we started being entrepreneurs alongside of our jobs to create some extra income. And at that point, we finally learned about what residual income is, about what leveraging your time was. And we had no idea. I was the first one to even get a college education in my family. And so to think outside the box, and I shared this at the Master Your Power Within event, but I had a money mindset growing up that having money is not a great thing. Like, better the poor, than you're more spiritual or whatever. And that the money was the root of evil. When later I learned that it's the love of money that can get you in trouble. And I definitely had because I'm not a person that loves things, and I could care less about, home, car, things like that. Like people and relationships and things like that matter to me. But in my mindset and what I learned, having a lot of money was not good. Well, my husband getting involved in this business, all of a sudden he was just, even prior to that, he wanted to be a millionaire by the time he was 30. He was involved he wanted to go into international business. And I finally just told him, honey, I can't live like a life like that. That's not me. And I love small towns. We'd have to be in a big city. So I pretty much crushed his dreams and told him, you can't think that way. And now I feel so bad about that, because now once I learned that it's not that, and how if you have more money and you have that abundant lifestyle, you can do so much more to help people and to give, I would love more than anything just to be able to give whatever to missionaries, to my church, things like that. So through the years, we were entrepreneurs, and always I was able to make enough money to pay a house payment and a car payment to help me be able to stay home more and not work full-time as a nurse while I was homeschooling the kids. Yes. So this was our journey throughout the years. Busy journey, boy. Thankfully, I was young then.
Well, and a house payment and a car payment are huge for any family. Those are the two biggest things. And people used to, it was $500, but it has dropped to where people are filing bankruptcy for $300 and some odd dollars now. Wow. 300. And people go, oh, well, they could get a second job. When I've taught this at things, they'll say, oh, well, they could get a second job and come up with $300. I'm going, but you don't understand. This is ongoing. Every month they already have the second job, they're already doing it, they've already cut their expenses, they've done these things, and it's every month, so it's cumulative. And so that's what, close to $4,000 or so, $4,000 or $5,000 a year shortfall. And
I did not know that. That is so sad.
Yes, $300 and something dollars. And I need to look up the current statistics, but it's sad. And people don't know about leveraging money. And that's why
leveraging their time. So many, and I was one of them. It's like, what do you mean? You can get paid when you're trading your time for dollars. Did that for years.
Yeah.
Once I understood leveraging my time.
Yes.
You do it once and then you get paid every time it happens.
Yes. And when you help other people, then they help
other people.
Yes.
And leveraging your time.
Yeah, God wants us to be a blessing. We're blessed to be a blessing. So if we have more money or lots of money or whatever, then we can bless more people.
Yeah.
And debt is one of the big things that robs us. Because I don't know what the statistics are, but take your house and you have house payments and you're paying, like in the beginning, half of your payment is towards the debt. It goes down as you go along, but in the beginning, even 3/4. I don't know how people do these $500,000. Well, and you're in California. Yeah.
Oh boy. Yes, it's very expensive, definitely.
Yeah,
But it just feels so free to finally get rid of that mindset and to know that money is just a tool. Money is just money, you know, whereas before it used to just freak me out to even talk about it. I mean, I've always let my husband do the bills. I didn't even want to see the dollar sign, you know, whereas, you know, now I just realize that if I, you know, can help my family and create more income. And so that's what, you know, where I met you ladies was at the master, well, before through our business that we're sharing together, we help people with health and wealth transformations, you know, and in this Master Your Power Within event, it really helped me he talked about something called the edge. And it just helped me to learn that we're just going along our pathways, you know, and then, you know, God will call us to certain things and we have a purpose and a calling in our life. And I know my number one purpose is to love God, to serve him and enjoy life forever. But what does that look like, you know, in your life? And so there was this edge and he just said, take a jump over the edge and then I will help you. And you know, I was able to do that and to take a step, start my own YouTube channel, my own TikTok channel, because I've always been I grew up extremely shy, and it was through these businesses and just through my life, I've developed a lot more confidence from the Lord has given me that. So here I am now, but something about going online and putting yourself out there, right? It's like, I can't do that. And everybody says, but Cindy, people want to hear what you have to say. And people, you know, you have so much value to share. You've got to share it. And so I finally made a decision. And the day I got home, I did my first video on aging joyfully with Cindy Talley RN. And
so tell me a little bit about the format of your show. What is it going to cover? How are you going to do it?
I'm going to just start it with the aging joyfully part. The joyfully is the most important thing in my life because I have, you know, joy every day, which comes from the Lord. And I want to encourage other women of faith that are my age and beyond. So I'm 53 this year. And so women who are 45 and over going through the aging process, going through that hormonal stage of life where we have every physical symptom that makes us feel like something weird is happening to our bodies. You know, sometimes we've got brain fog and we can't even remember our best friend's name, or we have these hot flashes or what I call power surges that sometimes feel like you're having an anxiety attack. They wake you up through the night. Poor digestion that you've never had before. All of a sudden your skin is wrinkling and thinning and crepiness is happening and on. But then there's also, you know, women that are aging are going through, maybe at my stage, you know, women that I know are just now deciding, I'm going to go back to school and get a career. My kids are out of the house, you know, and they're taking on a brand new career at my age. Some people, women I know, are going through a divorce after 25 or 30 years of marriage. There's some empty nesting, you know, syndrome. You know, so I went through it easily. Like I was like, let's party, no more kids. A little sad every once in a while. But some people truly get depressed and have lots of issues with that. So I would love to chat with those women and just help them through not only the physical transformations, but their psychological and spiritually. I want to be there to encourage. So I'm just going to come on and do, you know, short little videos. I'd love to interview you if you are going through something that might be of value in this stage of your life, whether it's spiritually, whether it's physically with hormonal changes, or socially, you're doing something different. I would love to talk with anybody about that. So that's the gist of it. And I also have a TikTok channel, Aging Joyfully with Cindy Talley. So I'm doing both.
Okay.
Well, that's great. Women, I mean, I look back on, I mean, I'm 20 years older than you guys, than you are, Cindy. But I remember my poor husband when I was going through that. I mean, he would come home and isn't it a little cool in here? No, it's not. And he would literally walk around our house in a winter coat.
Yep. I know.
And he would just be like, okay.
I know.
Barbara, that's the payback you're getting with your son-in-law keeping the house.
Oh, exactly.
She's now running around in a coat.
I'm the one that's running around in a coat and blanket.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we don't realize, but I have to admit that I feel better now at 72 than I did at 42.
Yes. Oh, awesome.
Yes.
And 70 is, I truly believe that 70 is the new 50. Because now, I mean, I have freedom, I have wisdom, still learning. Because one of the things that I teach is what is your purpose? And I was one of those, and I think I shared this at the event. I always thought my purpose had to be some big, humongous thing. It's not. For me, it's serve God, learn, and then to teach others what I've learned.
Oh, that's great.
It's that simple. And yet we have so many people that it's like, how do I embrace that? Well, find yours. What do you want to learn? And what do you want to teach others? And lots of times what you are learning is what you need yourself.
Yes.
And then somebody else is going through it. You've just gone through it, and somebody else could be just starting. So you just teach them how to go through what you've already been through.
And they can just be 1 or 2 steps behind you, and you can still teach them. You don't have to know it all. You don't have to be at the end of the book to help them out.
I did that with nursing.
The book never ends. The training book never ends.
No, definitely not. Like when we become a registered nurse, I literally graduated from nursing school when I was 20. It only took me 3 years to get my RN license. And here you are out there. And then so L&D, I was a labor and delivery nurse, which is great. You got a lot of training on the job, but you don't learn all of that during your nursing school. And then when I became a home health nurse, which I did for 25 plus years, and I'm still doing that, doing IV home infusions. But when I first started, I would go on the Google the night before and I Google congestive heart failure, signs and symptoms, and then all of the I'd take the medication book. And when I went out the next day, I literally would read from my paper to teach until I knew all of it, every single disease process practically, you name it. And so that's what we do every day in life. And so why not teach somebody, even if that morning we read something, I love to go on and I'm going to share things, especially like in my devotionals and stuff, like the Lord will tell me certain things or show me a sentence in this book that I'm reading or in this chapter of the Bible. And I'm going to be sharing that on my YouTube channel, what I learned just that day.
Wonderful. Exactly. Wow, this is exciting. I'm so glad you're doing that, Cindy. And I've got to say, we met Cindy at an event, and we were supposed to be taken back to the airport. And there were 3 of us that needed to go to the airport. Cindy was just driving through Las Vegas. And she goes, well, I'll take you, which was great. But she had to get up like about 6 hours earlier because we had to leave early, 6 or 8 hours earlier to get us to the airport in time of our shop. But it was so much fun. And y'all have met Donna Pappengellan, and it was the 4 of us that road trips down to Vegas, and it was just so much fun, and got to visit and stuff. So she definitely has a giving heart.
Oh, thank you.
We definitely want to give her kudos for that. So any last thoughts, Cindy, that you want to leave our people with?
Just not to being afraid to do something that you want to do, and knowing that God has really wants you to do this. He's called you to something. Do it afraid. What if you just do it afraid?
Amen.
And guess what? The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. And so that's what I'm taking hold of every day when I go online. Okay, push record.
Okay. That's good. That's good info. Barbara?
That's pretty much what I was going to say. Just what is your thing? What thing do you like to do? And right now, if you're not sure what it is, take a moment to stop and say, gee, you know what am I naturally good at? Lots of times the thing that you are naturally good at other people are struggling with.
Yes. Yes.
Just start something. Just say, hey, because people out there, I know for a fact that there are people out there that are struggling with what you're trying to do. Yes. But that you are so good at that. And a friend of mine, I mean, she started doing graphic things. And I went, how do you do that? She said, well, Barb, just do this. Once she taught me that, and now people are saying to me, how do you do these little graphic things for your show? I said, because I learned from somebody else. But that's how we all support each other. So what are you good at? Somebody else wants to learn it.
Yes.
Put it out there that you do it.
That's great. Love that.
That is so true. God put gifts and talents in each one of us, but it's up to us to follow those talents. But look back, stop and think, and go back and think when you were a child. What was your favorite thing? What was your favorite thing to do? I have a friend that owns a fur store. But as a child, she dreamed, and she was not raised with lots of money, okay? But as a child, she remembers just as a little, like 5 or 6 year old girl, running through just racks and racks of fur coats.
Oh, wow.
And here's, as an adult, she is an owner of like she was like over all the furriers in North America and sat on the international board. But just running through coats of different fur coats. And that was a dream, a dream, and didn't really know. And just, she kind of, as she followed God each step of the way.
The first step.
Yeah, you take your first step. And oftentimes as a child, you will get glimpses of what your future is. So I just want to thank y'all for coming today. I want to say, please like and share, send it out, tell your friends about us, because we want everyone to glean. And on that, in the comments, put things you want us to cover, because we want to motivate you to circle up and have a better life and do more and be happy. Okay. So we will see you. Thank you so much for coming today.